Hey folks, Quilly18 here, and welcome to some recording that I did while I played a Poland game. Now this was part of the review copy of the game, so some things have changed a little bit since release. And this was, I guess, a couple of weeks before release, so this is still, very much learning a lot of the mechanics and playing Poland for the first time and trying to figure out, how the game balances and what to prioritize and so on and so forth. And this recording actually started a little bit later, looks like 1484, so about 40 years into the game. And as Poland, you do start off with some really interesting situations. You have two vassals start off with. You've got Mazovia and Moldovia. At this point in the game, I've already diplo-annexed them. And it's very nice to have those vassals from the start. They give you a little bit more tax income. They do tie up some of your diplomatic relationships, but, they're relatively okay, especially if you're intending to annex them at some point in the future. I think there's also been a few skirmishes with the Teutonic Order at this point. Additionally, as Poland, you start off with a really interesting decision that you can enact almost right from the start of the game, which is to form a personal union with Lithuania. And since I originally talked about Poland, I think some of the mechanics for forming these unions and then forming the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth have changed a little bit, but they're pretty easy to achieve. As the personal union with Lithuania, you need a stability of 1, and then you need 100 diplomatic power. So basically you need kind of 100 admin power and 100 diplomatic power to achieve that. And that can come relatively quickly. You do have that Regency Council, I guess, at the beginning of the game, so you're not generating a whole lot of power points by yourself. But it's still, 100, and you don't start off with 0, so it does accumulate pretty quickly. You might get very, very unlucky. It's entirely possible. If something happens and for some reason Lithuania's king dies and, I don't know, the dynasty breaks or something, you could still get really kind of screwed. But generally speaking, as a player, you can form the personal union between Poland and Lithuania extraordinarily quickly. And you'll be leading that personal union, which means you're going to be in a fantastically powerful position because not only, Poland is relatively sizable a region in the, or a country in the region at the start of the game. You're in the Eastern Tech group, but that doesn't really hurt you at the start of the game. You've got mostly parity. Frankly, the fact that you can go with 60% cavalry is actually quite handy and puts you in a pretty good position. And then you've got Lithuania, which is gargantuanly huge and has quite a few troops kicking around. You don't control them directly, but if you get involved in the war, Lithuania will send their troops down there, and they can prove to be pretty damn handy. So, so then you're in a very, very, very strong position. One of the things that I like about Poland, there's positives and there's pros and cons, I guess, is that Poland has some very, very strong and obvious goals. Because really what you want to do as Poland, in addition to forming this personal union, you want to take the decision that allows you to form the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. And the big thing with that is, well, you do need admin tech level 10, sure, and you do need a stability of 3, which was a hell of a lot easier in the review copy than in release, because in the review copy it was basically that flat sort of 100 admin power plus or minus some modifiers for each stability level, and in release, going from 1 to 2 costs an extra 50%, and going from 2 to 3 costs an extra 100%. So you're spending a lot of administrative power to reach that stability of 3. Of course, at that point, getting admin tech level 10, the game has gone on. You can afford to save up some admin power at some point and get to that stability of 3. You also need to own and have a core on Warsaw. Now, Warsaw is not a hard one to get because it's a part of Mazovia. And Mazovia starts as your vassal, and at that point in the game, you've probably diplo-annexed them. The other two things you need to own and have cores on are Danzig and Marienburg. Now, Danzig, you can just, maybe put a claim on against the Teutonic Order and conquer that particular province. Marienburg's a little trickier because it's the capital of the Teutonic Order, which means it's quite hard for you to just to achieve a claim on it and to just take it, to get them to cede it to you in a war deal. On the other hand, you do, as Poland, get a mission to, it's called Remind the Knights of Their Duty, which is to vassalize the Teutonic Order. So you're always in a really good position about getting a lot of CBs against the Teutonic Order. So you whittle them down to size a little bit, then you can vassalize them if you want, or at that point you can do a full annex if you don't care about the overextension cost and the aggressive expansion diplomatic penalty. But, diplo-annexing them is not too bad. Again, you still have to wait till admin technology 10, so vassalizing them and then taking the time to diplo-annex is probably going to be entirely fine. And then once you've got all those cores in place, then you can form the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, which will allow you to basically integrate Lithuania to Poland in a very easy manner. And and with less difficulty than a traditional integration of a personal union would normally be. So then you can form the Commonwealth, and then you're going to be in an excellent situation. Now, forming the Commonwealth basically just gives you cores all over Lithuania, and maybe some claims here or there, a little bit of prestige and tax base, and that's about it. You're still going to be stuck in the Eastern Tech Group, but you are in a position to be an incredibly powerful nation in the region. You're in fantastic shape. In fact, you can see, presumably in this sort of time lapse that I'm showing here, I've probably gone to war with Hungary at some point. Maybe not yet, but I will at a certain point, more than once, and sort of chip away at them, because in my game at least, Hungary was never in a real position to have very strong allies, and so I was able to pick away at them quite a bit. Looks like at this point I've actually stepped away from the computer and had left it running. Oops. Hope nothing bad happens while I'm away. Now, again, this was the review version. This was pre-release, so at this point it does have the much cheaper stability cost. It's not very expensive to go up to the +3. So that made the game a fair bit easier, although on the other hand, the AI had exactly the same benefit. But that's certainly one of the big differences that I see between the review version that I was playing and the release copy. That stability cost is just brutal. So as Poland, I do feel that it's fairly linear, or you've got excellent direction as to what you can do. But, there's still plenty of options. You go, are you going to go and attack Hungary as much as I do? Are you going after Wallachia? How early do you want to sort of melee with Crimea, for example? And are you going to position yourself to strike at the Ottomans? Early on you're not in a great position, but maybe some of the other great powers will get into war with the Ottomans. Maybe there'll be a crusade called, or some sort of, what's the phrase I'm looking for? The coalition. Are you going to form a coalition against the Ottomans? That's, all kinds of interesting possibilities there. Are you going to move into Pomerania? Being next to the HRE is always going to be a little bit tricky, because you're going to have a hard time taking a lot of their stuff with impunity, especially early on. Maybe later on when you form the Commonwealth, you'll be in a better position to do that. Now, of course, being in a personal union with Lithuania can mean you're going to get into conflict with Muscovy and Novgorod. And in fact, one of the big risks is that Muscovy and Novgorod might take a shot at Lithuania before you've established your personal union, and certainly before the Commonwealth. And then, you might be slightly less powerful, even though you don't have a whole lot to do with it. That being said, you can get an alliance with Lithuania quite early, even before the personal union kicks in, and then you should be in a situation to go and help fight them off. Muscovy can be quite scary, especially once it starts to blob up. But I think you can probably manage things okay, unless you did like in my game. Now, I'm trying to think if at this point in the video it's become obvious, and I think it's possible that I've already fallen behind a fair bit in tech level, especially on the military tech point of view. If I recall, I've taken a military idea, so that's part of the reason that my military technology is behind. But also just I hadn't figured out like the real priority. If I were to start to make country guides for any country, like virtually any country in the game, I would say it would be this. First thing you do is get your stability up to +1. Because the extra 10% tax base is phenomenal. If this were still the review version, where you could keep going all the way up to stability +3 for a fairly affordable price, I think it would be worthwhile. That being said, as it is now, because the cost scales up as your stability increases, I think just paying to go to +1 is as far as you're going to want to go. And after that, save up your admin power. Your priority will be get your admin power up to the point where you can tech up to admin tech level 4 and then admin tech level 5. Because getting to 4 is key to get your national ideas, but getting to 5 means you can start building those temples and constables. And I know I've talked about it before. In fact, may have already mentioned it in this video. I'm not sure. I'm trying to keep the sort of linearity of what I'm talking about going on, but getting those early help your economy to such an extreme extent. It's unbelievable, to the point where no matter what country you are, there's always going to be a lot of really tempting, juicy targets. And obviously, the earlier you take those targets, the better off you'll be. But if you don't have cores on those targets, it's going to be rough, because unless you're willing to eat a little bit of overextension, you're going to have to blow lots and lots of admin power to start to coring up those provinces. And it's going to put you so far behind, and if it delays you getting to admin tech level 5, it's simply, I don't think it's particularly worthwhile. You know, if you've got anything that's got cores, go for them early on. But if you don't have cores, I would just, you know, play back, tech up, bring your maintenance sliders all the way down, and end up with like a good nest egg. And I think for most countries, it's actually going to be good. And the problem is, I don't know, I guess this comes from years and years and years of playing stuff like Civilization or something. Speed is of the essence. You want to rush your colonization as quickly as possible. You're on a really harsh time limit. And I think things are a little bit different in EU in that it's really about making sure that your basic economy and technology are established before you sort of slowly start to chip away at the other nations. You've got 300+ years to play this game. There's a lot of room for that. Colonization, no, even then, colonization, people aren't going to be snapping up the colonies that quickly. There's going to have to be some exploration steps. People are going to have to unlock their ideas for the quest for the new world and so on and so forth. So you're going to be in okay shape. And so what starts to happen in this game, I feel like at this point in the game where I formed the Commonwealth, I feel like a super powerful badass. I actually have like, you know, a fair number of troops. Yeah, here I'm starting to lose. I'm like, this is the first point in the game, I think, where I'm starting to have difficulty, and I haven't figured out why. And I think Castile has formed Spain, so I think Spain has been involved in this war, and I thought it was going to be a relatively simple war, you know, for some of the Italian kind of nations. And I have found out at this point that I'm ridiculously far behind in tech. I think 2-to-1 in a battle, I'm still coming off as the loser. I need like far superior forces, and A, I only have so many forces, and B, when you're going around in such big doom stacks, you're getting tons of attrition. I'm seeing my manpower just drop. You can see I'm at like 5k manpower right now, and I don't know what my maximum is at this point in the game, but it's clearly in the tens of thousands. In fact, I think it's probably above 50,000. Later on, I know that I'm over 100,000 manpower, but I don't believe I am at this point in the game. I would expect I'm probably at 60 or 70,000. So I am obviously very far behind. Plus, here you can see me rebuild my military because I've actually gotten my regiments completely destroyed. And so because I focus so much on aggressively grabbing a lot of territory, including all this stuff in Hungary, and I feel great, I feel huge. Holy crap, is my tech far behind. And I am just in a very bad place. So I decided, you know, at some point, okay, I can't tangle with the Western European powers. You know, what can I do? And I still haven't decided to really slow down properly at this point. Yeah, and I'm answering these call to arms because I've, you know, maybe my alliances aren't in the smartest possible position. I want allies to defend me, but they keep pulling me into wars that I really can't contribute much. And I should just leave my armies at home. The problem is the role player in me always wants to go and help. Right? I can't just sit back and watch my allies fight. I have to go and engage, even though it tends to be a really dumb, stupid, bad decision. So yeah, at some point I'm going to go to war against the Livonian Order here. I think it's in this video. I'm not trying to remember the timing of everything. Some things got recorded, some things didn't, because I wasn't really doing this to make a video necessarily, but it seemed like it was kind of an interesting idea. And I check the Livonian Order's allies, and then I check their allies, and their allies, and I keep going down the thread to make sure that I'm not going to get involved with someone really dangerous. And then, you know, I'm 100% sure that the alliance web is not going to come back and screw me. So then I go ahead and declare war against the Livonian Order, and I don't notice on the actual declaration of war screen that Muscovy is the, what's it called? Defender of the Faith for the Ottomans, the Orthodox. And so Muscovy gets involved, and again, even though they're an Eastern tech group power, just like I am, they're like 4 or 5 military techs ahead of me, so I get just stomped crazy to the point where I end up like having to reload that game, because it was like I didn't notice this one thing. I thought I'd done all my homework, and because I didn't notice the thing on the one other screen I didn't check, I was getting stomped. So I was like, okay, rewind, let's not do that. And that's when I decided, okay, well, I'm so far behind on my technology, the right thing to do at this point is to westernize. So let's talk about westernization and how it works. If you are not in the Western tech group, and one of your neighbors is in the Western tech group, and has at least 8 more levels of technology than you do, they have to be 8 techs ahead of you do, and it can be spread around all over the place. You can have, you know, 3 in admin, 2 in diplomacy, and 3 in military. That would be 8 techs ahead. So that allows you to westernize. So what you do is you go to your tech screen, you click the Westernize button. And what it does is it takes, and I'm trying to remember, do you also have to be at +3 stability? It's possible. Actually I can double check because I've got a screen open here. No, that's all. But what it does do is it takes all of your power, all your admin power that you've got sitting around and banked, and sets it down to 0. In addition to that, it sets your stability to -3. So you're at -3 stability and you have no admin power, so you're not in a position to recover. Here it is, another war against Western nations. This time it's France, and again, I'm just getting absolutely stomped, and I'm like, oh my god, this is so bad, because if ever they decide to fabricate claims on me, I'm not going to be able to defend my own territory, which is brutal. So yeah, so you're at this -3 stability, you've got no admin power, so you're not in a position to be able to easily restore your stability. And that's rough. Now, the way that that you complete westernization is on your tech screen. Once you've clicked that button, the button to westernize is replaced with a bar, a meter, right? It starts at 0 and can go all the way up to 100. When it reaches 100, you're now westernized. The way that bar fills is every month it adds your current stability to that bar. Now, unfortunately, you start at -3 stability, so that bar is not moving in the slightest. You have to get to +1 stability for it to start to fill it up by 1 every month. Which is brutal. Even if you get to +2 stability, that's still going to take over 4 years to finish westernizing. And so you're having to get your stability up quite high to be able to move that bar. And to make matters worse is while you're westernizing, at least in the review copy, it was like triple the normal cost. It was costing me like 300 admin power to go from -3 stability to -2, which means that you were spending like well over, in practice, once all is said and done, you're spending like over 1,000 admin power just to get the bar to westernize to start to move at all, and then you're having to wait for it to go by. Meanwhile, the whole time, with such bad stability, you have huge rebellion problems. In addition to that, while you're westernizing, there's even more reactionaries than normal that are ready to pop up and fight. So you're having to fight ridiculous amounts of rebels all over. Furthermore, that whole westernizing thing was really hitting at the time when the Protestant movement, the Reformation of Catholicism, was still hitting hard. So I was getting all the religious rebels at the same time, and it was just, oh my god, it was just sick. Just utterly, utterly sick, the amount of crap that was happening. If any major power had decided to declare war at that point, I would have just had to quit the game. Like, 100%, I'm just lost. I don't know how do you recover from that. Well, I would have had to, just cede vast swaths of territory and hope that they didn't take it all, and then hope that I could recover after westernizing was done. Meanwhile, in addition to that, so not only do you have no stability, and not only is the stability extremely expensive to generate, the whole time you're getting all these events while you're westernizing that keep giving you horrible choices, like click this button to get 40 rebels, or click this button to lose a stability, and you're like, I can't afford to lose a stability. You know how much admin power I spent for that? Plus, I gotta get the positive stability at some point so I can actually stop westernizing. It is rough. Oh, and other buttons that would like cause you to lose so much power, and you're like, I can't afford to lose any admin power for sure, because I got to keep, working towards stabilizing. And so that was it. It was like lose a bunch of admin power, or, lose 10% of your tax base for like the next 10 years. And it's just miserable and hard. And so I don't know if an Eastern tech group power will ever want to westernize. Because, yeah, all your tech is 20% more expensive. But do you know how far behind you're going to fall during the westernizing process? Now, if you've got a ruler who's like, I don't know, admin power 5 or 6 or something like that, like a really good king in terms of admin power, then it might make the process a lot simpler. This is the first time I'd ever westernized, so I did not have any idea exactly how bad it was going to be. So in fact, I think at this point in the game, if I'm watching the video here, it looks like I've already turned my eye inward here. I'm trying to, build more buildings because my economy's not so great and all kinds of different stuff. I'm not sure. I didn't catch it if I'd started actually westernizing or not. Yeah, it's going too fast. You guys are gonna be able to pause and catch it. Yeah, so I've realized that, okay, I've expanded phenomenally fast. And that's great, and I'm really happy for that. But now I've got to stop expanding outwardly. I can see the spread of Protestantism. Okay, and I haven't started westernizing yet. So I'm already going to start having rebel problems because of the Protestant thing, and I'm already like incredibly paranoid that everyone is going to declare war on me and slaughter me with their superior forces. I mean, even other Eastern tech group powers like Muscovy, they're just like much better tech. For all I know, the Hordes have better tech than me. It was bad. It was double plus on good, and part of it is because I had the military idea, so I was spending a lot of military power expanding my idea. And the more I play, the more I feel like what I'm going to do is probably try to keep teching up as much as possible, and then when I get to the point where my technology is ahead of the yearly curve, where it's like, oh, you're going to spend an extra 20% cost because you're ahead of the curve, that's when it's time to start spending the points on ideas, for example. It's a little different with administrative power, because administrative power, you've always got other things to spend on. For example, if you don't happen to have an administrative idea group, and you're at the point where you're ahead of the curve in terms of administrative power, well, it's great. Now's the time to, let's go up to +3 stability, which in the release version now costs quite a bit more. Or maybe now it's time to put down some claims, and, we'll be able to afford to spend money on cores. Again, that's sort of like Civ style mentality, or StarCraft style mentality. Oh, here's where I'm going to declare war on the Livonian people, and I think I'm looking through all the alliance groups, and that's when it's like, wait, Muscovy's getting involved? The hell? Yeah, there we go. And I'm like, wait, what's with these red troops coming over from the east? What? Muscovy? What? I was so confused. I had no idea how they got involved here, and I'm just going to get absolutely screwed. Hopefully I've got the footage of me. I think I got the footage of me here just getting slaughtered by Muscovy for a while, and then I eventually reload, and that's when I start the westernizing thing after that fact. Oh man, it did not go good. And let me tell you, the AI is bloodthirsty. When they are winning a decisive war, they are not willing to peace out for anything. They want to get, they're just like a player might, they're going to go for the 100% war score and try to extract absolutely everything from you. You have to hurt them. You have to inflict some losses so that they their war enthusiasm goes down. Because until the war enthusiasm goes down, they are not going to relent. And this is on normal AI. Like, I can't even imagine how brutal they're going to be on hard. So here's me. It's like sending over 40 troops, I think, at a small stack. I'm having a hard time seeing the numbers here. And just getting devastated despite huge numbers. I mean, I did take a river crossing, but I'm outnumbering my opponents massively, and I'm still losing these battles like no kidding. Part of it, too, at this point, I didn't really know all the modifiers and wasn't really thinking about it. But they had more morale, so my army was breaking a lot faster. But they also had superior discipline and superior tactics, so they were inflicting more damage on me and taking less damage from anything that I would do. So it was just, there was no stopping them. And yeah, there's no excuse. Muscovy, they're an Eastern Tech group just like I am. So it was just the early game mismanagement of the sort of economy and power points and maintenance, and that's one of the reasons that now I really focus on trying to get to tech level 5, build those temples and constables as quickly as possible, and of course if you can increase your trade power, that's good too. And then spend that money and not core things. If you can avoid spending admin power to core things, you're in a much stronger position. Obviously you have to do it sometimes, but I'm going to focus a lot more on diplo annexing things, I think, wherever I can. So we'll see how that goes. Oh god, this war is so bad, and it's still as bad as it looks. It's almost like during my westernizing / reformation process, it felt even worse. Luckily, the rebels weren't much more powerful than my troops, but there were so many of them. And my economy was shot, which means I couldn't run high army maintenance all the time either. So, just brutal. At some point, I just start begging Muscovy for a peace treaty. They won't accept. It's like, I'll give you everything. No go. And they're just laughing. Like, I've got no manpower. I'm about to run out of manpower. And they have tons in the bank. And look at everything turned black from the rebels. I think these are mostly Protestant rebels. I'm trying to read the symbols. No, they're various nationalist rebels. Okay. That's all. Just lots. I think there's lots of war wariness is the problem. And, there's some religion stuff. I can see myself sending some missionaries at this point. So it's a combination of things that just keep increasing the rebellion risk. The religious stuff, the low, or the high war awareness, and just, oh gosh, it was terrible. But yeah, so I did have to back out of this situation where I did not realize that Muscovy were the defenders of the Orthodox faith and back out of that. And that's when I started the westernizing process. So at this point, the game that game has recovered. I haven't played it since the release copy came out, and I don't think I will go back to it just because the game balance has been affected so much by those changes that it doesn't feel like you know, it would be the same sort of experience. I got to start over. I need to play another Poland game now, using the knowledge that I have combined with. Oh yeah, I think I've reloaded the game at this point. Yeah, see, I'm still moving my people next to, Livonia, or they were already queued to move over there, and I'm like, nope, we're not going there. We are turning around. I am not going to war with anyone. We're now going to be focused on westernizing. Good, so we'll actually be able to see that. I hadn't realized what parts of the video were in there. And it looks like I keep checking a variety of decisions I would like to enact, so yeah. Just had to rage quit. Just rage quit the game. Come back to the previous save. In the review copy, Iron Man mode was not enabled because it didn't have a valid checksum, so it wasn't even an option to play in Iron Man mode. And I've been playing a lot of games in Iron Man mode now, and I think it's beautiful the way that it works. It really encourages a different kind of play. I love getting the achievements. It's fantastic. It's unlikely that any game I record for YouTube will be played in Iron Man mode because there's always the risk of, like, every now and again, something goes wrong with the recording, and I'm forced to, like, oh, hold on, we got to back up, we got to load the save again, and replay it for the recording. I mean, that's happened plenty of times in Civ, and it's always like, it's like, okay, I'm going to try to play this, as close to how I played it last time as possible, little things like that. So I think for any recorded content, the Iron Man's not going to be viable. But I've been having a lot of fun with it. I love that it saves to the cloud, so when I move from my main desktop computer to my laptop, I can just continue my save there. The frequency of saves in Iron Man can be a little wacky. It doesn't bother me on my main computer, but on my laptop, which is a little bit slower, I definitely, there's definitely lag. And the fact that it sort of saves constantly, so it's not even a monthly save. It's every time you get a diplomatic action or you've completed a battle, it auto-saves then. So you never have the opportunity to sort of back up from anything disastrous that happens. But if you don't have a fast computer with a fast hard drive, it can certainly feel a little unpleasant. Oh, okay, it looks like I've westernized, or clicked the westernize button at this point because I'm at -3 stability, so watch the chaos happen. Also, being at -3 stability means you get, what, 30% less national tax? So your economy just poops. And, oh yeah, all these decisions, like, I think at this point, because I'm at -3 stability already, I could answer a couple of events and say, like, no, I'll take the stability loss because it doesn't really matter. But later on, all these events that pop up, and it's like, there's so brutal choices. Do this or lose a stability and just stay in this hellhole that is the westernizing process forever. I do have a lot of land. And I have built a fair number of buildings as well. So, I think it's not a bad game. But it could be better. On the other hand, like, the alternative, I think, I would have a much, much better technology. Again, get something horrible or lose a stability. It's terrible decisions to make all the time. What was it? Oh yeah, I could probably have better technology, better economy, but have slightly less land. And I think that's actually the way to go, because then you can sort of explode again in the mid-game maybe, or something like that, and just have more longevity. I think there's definitely the threat that, like so many empires before me, I expanded too quickly and too greedily, and then I will collapse inward amongst myself. There could be massive nationalist movements, and I might be forced to liberate some nations. Certainly, if I were a player playing against this version of Poland, what I would certainly do is go to war with them and force them to release a bunch of nations to make it a lot easier to sort of gobble up the land afterwards. Like release Ukraine, release. Well, I'm not sure what all the different sub-nations and regions are present in EU here that can be released from the Lithuania/Polish area. And certainly, like Mazovia, Moldova would be released again, and probably return cores to Hungary, that sort of thing. I'd try to get a couple of provinces seeded here and there, just so that I've got a little bit more to show with it. But my priority would be just like crack the Commonwealth like an egg. And it wouldn't, I still see that might be a possibility. I do successfully complete the westernizing process, but it's harsh. I think at this point I'm also trying to build some courthouses to lower the rebellion chance. But of course the problem is those things cost like 10 admin power each, so every time I do that I'm actually putting myself a couple months behind on my westernizing process. And I don't know, it's this constant back and forth. I'm finally at +0 stability at this point, right? So I'm no longer losing money, it looks like. Although it's hard because, again, if I've got my military maintenance so low, but I've got to fight all these rebels all the time. It's brutal. My manpower has recovered beautifully, though. I'm at like 70k manpower at this point, so I'm doing a little bit better. And as soon as I get to +1 stability, I think I get all the way up to +2 stability. Again, in this review build, it's a lot cheaper to go into the high positives because it doesn't have that +50% and +100% modifier. So it's really a lot more manageable. So it'll be interesting to see what the westernizing is in the review build or the release build, because they may have changed the balances somewhat. But I'm finally getting there, and then I know for a fact it's not recorded. I have played more of this game post westernizing, and thanks to westernizing, and then a few other things that I'm doing here and there in terms of advisors and not spending my resources on other things, I am catching up in technology dramatically. It helps. You get all those neighbor bonuses, so you always get a huge discount to your technology as well when you're playing catch up. So that's pretty good. But yeah, the religious turmoil while westernizing, just brutally sick. I'm almost there. Yeah, I guess I'm willing to bet this video ends with the completion of the westernizing process. I'm trying to look around the map. Looks like Austria has picked up Burgundy in this particular game, which is very scary because Austria is certainly a power that has a lot of potential in games. Spain's got almost all of Italy, and that's the thing. I was trying to stop Spain from doing that in the early war. That was the first war against a power that was dramatically superior to me in terms of technology, was trying to stop Spain from taking over all of Italy, which I thought was easy. I'm like, what are you going to do, ship all these troops over there? Oh, that's going to be a pain in the ass. And there were other like pretty significant powers involved in that war, and I got spanked. France is almost completely finished sort of uniting its borders, although it looks like Calais is still in English hands, and obviously with Austrian control of Burgundy, it's going to be hard for France to move east, I think, because that's a pretty scary power to fight. So yeah, this video is coming to an end, and I don't know, Poland, play Poland. It's really a fun nation to play, and just make better decisions than I did. See you next time, folks. Bye bye.